Today, Velocity Online Racing looks to try and battle out on a short track. A new iRacing update means new challenges, and our competitors are getting ready for what's going to be an intense one at the action track. Today, we're at Richmond Raceway for just the second time in series history here on VOR. Justin Prince alongside Jack James here today. Howie Burrows, our producer, as we get ready from Richmond Raceway. Jack, tonight's going to be an intense race to say the very least. New update brings the 2026 rules package to the iRacing service, and speeds are blistering quick here at Richmond.
Yeah, it's been really interesting seeing just behind the scenes there before we went live, looking at a couple of practice starts, and I think the forecast in terms of action is going to be extremely high tonight, Justin, especially with the top three in the championship looking to really kind of close up as the season reaches its climax as we get closer to that final round of the season.
Keep in mind, the fastest times are 6/10 quicker right now compared to what they ran the last time we raced here in 2022. Liam O'Sullivan is the points leader coming into today. So far, it's been an intense battle between him and his boss man when it comes to Altena Autosport, Julien Altena. 50 points the separation. Kyle Clenworth is in the top three also, keeping the pressure high. And keep in mind, we've had a schedule change in the past few weeks because St. Petersburg is now at iRacing, and so we go there instead of Sebring next time.
I think that's going to be a really interesting and exciting addition to the calendar. Obviously, being a new circuit to the iRacing service, it's going to be most likely one of the first, if not the first, broadcasted IndyCar race around St. Pete on iRacing. And I think that especially once you have a sort of a new challenge to the iRacing service and to these drivers in this series, testing is not really limited like it is in the real world. So when you bring a new circuit to the iRacing service, it really adds a new aspect of uncertainty because drivers don't have months and months and hours to put into the circuit because, of course, it didn't exist.
Altena Autosport, as you see, one of the top team side of things so far. They've been consistent, but Fraser Clegg has been the most consistent rookie this season. He's one of your top qualifiers currently at the moment. Nigel Stonk has also had some good strategy calls with the course of some of the ovals this season. Trapancia amongst the top three in your rookies. 4 laps of qualifying for each of the drivers here tonight at Richmond. The lap times are blistering and eye-watering. Less than 17-second lap times for the current pole.
Yeah, it just shows how quick and fast these laps are going to turn down tonight. We have 300 laps or 225 miles ahead of us this evening, but when we're doing 17-second lap times, you need to blink only once or twice, and we've already gone through the best part of 10 laps.
Clegg just so happens to be that driver. Hunter Ingrave in second, Altena Sullivan, and then it is Kyle Gresh who is up there in the top 5, making his first start of the season. A couple drivers still putting up qualifying laps, includes the Netherlands-based driver Toby Deek, who's right now holding on to the 11th position. 17:40s for him. He's the last car running out of everybody on circuit, and will run out of time here. And this one is going to be one you need to buckle up your seatbelts and make sure your arms stay attached for 300 laps. You better be able to keep up with the intensity, to say the very least, for 225 miles. Here's a look at the starting lineup today. Fraser Clegg starts on the pole with Hunter Ingrave in the second position. Difference in the pole times ended up being less than a tenth of a second. Then you switch back an extra row. The pressure is on behind the 57 and the 77 today because Julien Altena and Liam O'Sullivan, an action-packed row from Altena Autosport, will start at row number 2. Then it's going to be Kyle Gretsch who will start in the 5th position, with Roden Empting will start off inside the top 6. Mon Law will start in row number 4 today, with John Christensen making an appearance inside the 8th spot here this afternoon. Kyle Clenworth starts off in 9th, and Charpentier will start things off inside the top 10, Jack.
Yeah, it's going to be then Toby Deek and Matthias Strauss in row number 6 for Swan Simsport, and Team Watson Racing respectively in row 7 will be none other than co-commentator of mine, Sebastian Kinder, alongside Brian Fiolis for Team Watson Racing as well, and all Team Watson Racing for row number 7. Row number 8 is Anthony Heitzmer, in the number 22 alongside Andreas Vinci. And then row number 9 is Miriani for Granada Syndicate and John Stellard, the independent, in the number 81. Then the row number 10 is going to be none other than Deitch and Zumbati. And then rounding out today's field is going to be Dan Ench in the ever formidable Race for Dementia liveried car. So I think, Justin, it's going to be very interesting to see how drivers actually are going to be coping with this action-packed, almost like a roundabout in many senses, and keeping a good look after that front right tire is going to be key, I think.
Especially with an unpredictable day today. Keep in mind today, as said, 300 laps, that's 225 miles for today's action. We have 7 tire sets available, and it's overcast skies. Currently, skies looking like the clouds are going to settle over a little bit. That's impacting track temps. Still be pretty high despite that, since it is a June skybox. 95 Fahrenheit, that's 35 Celsius. So, last keys to victory in regards to being able to come out on top today.
I think it's going to be really, really difficult for drivers a lot more further down the field. So, for example, Kyle Clenworth, I know that he's top 3 in the championship. He's going to be looking for a really good result today, but I think it's going to be very difficult to make the moves with these higher speeds. A new package here today for the IndyCars, as I believe we are coming to green this time around, Justin.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. We're happy with this here for coverage of Velocity Online Racing. The IndyCar Series is underway from Richmond. Already some problems coming off of turn 2. Near contact a couple times over on the side-by-side. FT Camonsto sliding up the racetrack. And a lot of these cars just tiptoeing to maintain grip. Some side-by-side up the road. Empting retains up to the 3rd spot to begin things early.
Seems to be the go-to line. Everyone's going straight to that bottom line, Justin. Everyone seems to really prefer that inside, shorter route around the circuit, obviously, but It seems to be that those on the higher sort of line that I saw, the likes of O'Sullivan really struggling with in terms of tire grip off that first kind of turn 1 and 2 there. But it seems to be that the inside is where you want to be 100%.
Look at this and how quickly things are dropping back for a couple drivers here. See some of the drivers really trying to let the car roll, make sure they don't snap around. And one of the major things you'll see as a little scrape there for Altena is these drivers with this going to have not only the higher speeds but also downforce levels with the updated package. They are running the iRacing fix setup here today, by the way, here with these competitors. Here's the look at Altena as he tries to stay setting up right now in amongst the top 5. We're going to test out the second group.
It's a really good start from F-Tink in the second spot. I've just picked that up. He's up 4 places already, only 6 laps in. He must have put the burners on off the start of this race. Looking back from the Book of the Doom machine, he's really put his foot in the right direction to start off this one.
Some of the others really trying to make sure they get themselves settled. Here's the race leaders once again settled on up. Gonna try and sort things out quickly. Will there be a move on Engrave? Looks like yes, to the inside of Engrave he goes. Engrave, though, in the Rogue Racing Machine has the power down. The outside really good to be able to defend. And we have our first caution. Kinder is involved. Christensen's up in the air. A couple more slams for Strauss as we're under caution.
Yeah, I caught that one just out the corner of my eye in the back of the shot. We're going to get a replay of this, I believe. And this is going to be off of turn number 4. So it's going to be Christensen that actually gets involved. And he's going to go wildly flipping. And everyone, I believe, is just going to go straight on into the side of him. There's Strauss into the side pod of the 44 machine.
Bit of a wild ride. So where do things setting up? You got contact side pod to side pod. That was a lengthy flip there, too. Obviously, Christensen probably out of the race, save for Strauss. Here's a look for Christensen.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird thing of a sort of iRacing netcode, a little bit of super glue, kind of magician kind of stuff going on there. I mean, the two of them were sort of glued together, it almost looked like, and then unfortunately for Christensen, he just got tangled up and spat out the wrong way up the racetrack, finding himself flipping wildly towards the outside wall. But I believe that is going to be very surprising to see that 44 machine back out on the racetrack this evening, Justin.
Yeah, Scott Kinder has also gone his way down pit road as they work their way into the caution period. No one from the front of the field elected to take tires. Still too early to make that call here. Now, the estimated windows today, based on what's expected here today, going to be a little bit more interesting because, again, with the lap times, you're talking 70 to 85 laps. They're expecting a 3-stopper for a majority of the field today, Jack. So you have a lot more flexibility in that you have a wider range with the tire sets, but still, you don't want to be pinned out the back of the field at a track where it's pretty clear it's going to be hard to pass at.
Yeah, that's a really important note that you touch upon there, because we have the 17-second lap times. That sort of shorter lap really means that timing your pit stop right is going to be that much more important, because, as you say, the last thing you want to have happen to you is have your race made 10 million times harder for you because you're stuck at the back of the field or you're stuck a lap down, and then you're constantly having to fight back through and almost sacrifice that pit strategy that you've organized with your team before the race just to get back onto the lead lap. And sometimes, and probably all of the time, or 90% of the time at least, that never works out exactly how you want it to.
Legal signal for Engrave and company as they get ready for the restart. Keep in mind, one of the things to consider when it comes to this package that's a little bit different from last time. This series came here when Alexander Van de Sant won by almost 10 seconds. The package here now on iRacing with the updates, including with the new Indianapolis package, some of the other circuits, is the short oval package is essentially optimized to provide stability in traffic, help drivers handle quick transitions per entity IndyCar Series in real life, while minimizing turbulence as is in the Aero walk from other cars. We'll see how the turbulence fares out with the single file against the wall. Green flag is out. Back on our way. No major dives to be able to get around before the start and finish line. Everybody works their way through as the first attack is on. It's for third. Liam O'Sullivan thought about the inside instead. Altena gets the run for second.
As the two championship protagonists going side by side. We've seen a lot of that recently across various different championships, and the three Altena Autosport cars really getting tight and close together. This is what I really like about the Velocity Online Racing Series, Justin. Because it's the fixed setup, everyone has the same sort of equipment available to them. No one has any edges because of setup knowledge. It's all down to the drive, and it provides amazing racing like this, as we see O'Sullivan again to the inside of his championship rival Julien Altena, but he's going to get sort of blocked off by Rodan Efting. Talking about that dirty air still coming into play, even with this new sort of generation or updates to the IndyCar model for this current season in iRacing. It's kind of good to see that that's still a factor, although it's definitely making it easier to follow because these guys have managed to keep together incredibly well.
Something going on with Kyle Clenworth, by the way. Clendy pit under the caution, then pit after the green flag. The one is currently sitting in the pit stall as the leaders battle it out for the lead. So big implications going on with Clendy not coming out on the racetrack. And take your contact caution flag is out. We're back at our yellow. It's Hatsama who's gone around in the 22 car. We're back at our yellow. Hatsama with the broken wing on the back straightaway.
That's what I'm going to touch upon. The first thing with Kyle Clenworth, that's going to be horrendous for his championship battle. He's already 87 points behind as it is. And whoa, what's gone on here? Mr. Anthony.
Wonder if it's almost like something you would see in a stalker cross the street, the seams and spot it out.
Yeah, he was very, very lucky not to collect Seb Kinder on the way through there as well. So that's Aman Lau behind in one of the Altena Autosport cars, and he's just going to get two trigger happy, Justin.
Yeah, and that caused the wing to get smashed off. Oh my goodness. Near contact going down the hill for good measure, and Lau did break the left front tire as a result of the contact. So obviously we'll have to come down pit road to get that reattached. Here is why.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate for Aman Lau, because in that situation you have to either slam on the brakes, go to the inside or the outside, and the outside in Aman's situation was the way to go, but because of that outside wall he really couldn't do an awful lot. So I think that's just purely bad luck for the purple Altena Autosport machine.
I don't think it's fixable, by the way, for Lau, just to confirm, because it's not just the tires loose. He smashed the entire left front axle apart and has jumped out of the car. So it looks like we've lost our competitor. Our attrition rate is pretty high. The last time this series ran here, there were 14 starters. We started with 21 and we're down already to 16 cars as a result of this incident here in this one. And remember, when they had 14 back in 2022, only 10 cars ended up finishing with only 3 on the lead lap. So we'll see how the trends fare out this time out when it comes to the series with the trip to Richmond. And can confirm, just got information that Clendy originally intended on a starting park here today, hence why he pit under the caution and then dropped to the back of the field. So Clendy, big implications with him having the starting park situation. That will see a big different situation in terms of the point standings possibly. Of course, in real life commitments coming to play a lot, Jack. Whatever the situation may be is going to take priority in that situation with real life. But that would put Clendy as low as maybe the edge of the top 5, if not outside of it, after today.
Yeah, that's almost championship hopes kind of sealing that kind of deal for Kyle Clenworth there. Unfortunate for him, because I was looking forward to see if he could use all of his amazing talent that he has to try and claw his way back into this championship fight. But one thing I do want to note, Justin, is we did have 2 cars come into pit lane under this caution, and that would be Brian Fiolis and Dan Ench towards the back of the field. Dan Ench having a good race so far, up 5 spots, among those being Michael Deach is our top mover of today so far, up 9 spots in the number 17 car, along with Muriani as well. He's up a respectable 8 places off the green flag as we are back to racing, Justin.
And back to a battle for the race lead. He took it away. And Grave keeps it high on the outside groove. Here comes the 18. Can he clear? No. But he can't get the edge to get the lead lap for the first times. Already a couple laps led to his credit. Bit of a checkup on the inside as Eptake nearly cleared himself a third time.
Is that contact and damage? I may have seen a little bit of bodywork flying off, but maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, but still side by side for the lead. This is incredible racing with 23 laps in this race already.
Eptake, mind you, coming into the today, 13th in the point standings. Yet they're going to win, has 2 top 5s on the season. Now already passed on by Altena as a result of that initial battling failing on out for the 18 machine. But for Julien, his win earlier in the season, picked him up some good points when they raced over at Road America. Clegg, mind you, started this race up on the pole, and he has been quiet since then. He dropped immediately back outside the top 5, the rookie trying to get into a rhythm.
Yeah, I wonder if this is strategic from Fraser Clegg, trying to just drop back into the traffic and save a little bit of fuel and try and eke out this first stint a little bit longer. I think that one thing we need to bear in mind a little bit more, as the attrition rate is extremely high from what we've seen so far today. As the race goes on, obviously with less cars on the circuit, there's going to be less chance of future caution. So with every caution comes potentially the possibility for an even longer green run after it. So this could be Fraser Clegg trying to play a little bit longer and think ahead of everyone else in this strategy game. But one thing that I've been taking note of Hunter Engrave is because his line through the corner is so different to everyone else. Everyone else has seemed to be hugging that inside line, but as the race has gone on, he's seemed to have found a home in sort of running that middle lane. As you can see there, running a whole groove higher than the 18
Caution.
In second place.
Yuri. Caution flag is out. Clegg had dropped back. Can't confirm. Might have lost it on his own without contact. Turns 1 and 2. I think he scraped the wall in the outside of turn 1. Watch this entry.
Whoa, talk about Tokyo Drift, Justin. Whoa.
Yeah. Right there. Just drifted in the wall with his own.
Wow, what a save. Incredible car control from Clegg there. Literally just as we were talking about him, I thought it was going to be a horrible commentator's curse, but some incredible car control. Look at this. What an entry. 10 out of 10, my friend. That is rather incredible. No damage from what it looks like, and no casualties. So this would be a little bit of a, I don't know, a ghost caution maybe, so to say.
And Grave is coming on in after losing the race lead as we were discussing those points and right before that caution period. So he'll bring Fraser Clegg with him down the lane. Danich also coming on down this time. Interesting play for the 77 in particular here, getting off cycle 30 lap difference compared to everybody else here on this choice.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting, I think. The fresher tires will definitely play a big role. Do not get me wrong. Having fresh tires is always better than having 50 lap old tires, but with the fact that he's pitting now on, what is this, lap 31, so it would have been lap 30 that he came into the pits, so we're sort of saying half of the predicted stint length, a little bit less than that, being, you know, we sort of guess 70 to 85 laps for the average stint length. Could this be him maybe covering off a potential splash and dash with the way things are going at the moment towards the end of the race with cautions that we have had already? But we need to keep an eye on him once this goes back to green, because he will definitely be on the charge and going around the outside or down the inside or just weaving his way through traffic. It's going to be something to watch for sure.
So we on with this caution period. Should get the one to green next time by, I believe. Reset your top 10. Altena, Eptake, O'Sullivan, along with Gretsch up inside the top 4. You also have Deke in the top 5, with Charpentier will be in the 6th position. Mariani in 7th. Then the 85, 17 in 81. Once your top 10. One of the first times really seen Stellard on the track here this evening. Interesting to see his appearance as we see some of the drivers make some of their first starts of the season later on in the campaign, Jack. 8 spots gained, by the way, for the 81 car.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good strategy to sort of have if you're trying to sort of eye up a series for the following year. You see it a lot in real life, especially in the UK. You'll see people turning up to the last 3 events of the year, maybe 4, just to sort of give the series a taster, sort of see what it's like, see if they want to go and do it for the following season and give it a full run and attack and full focus on it, which is really nice to see that 81 car back in, well, not back in, but in for the first time and giving this thing a go. As I believe it's going to be green flag.
There it is. They went to the middle line. Interesting, though, not the top to start for the first couple cars. 10 and left take. Still getting a decent launch. O'Sullivan charges up to the top 3. Teammates 1, 2, 3 at the head of the field as a result off the restart. By the way, Ingrave, you mentioned him. He is amongst those on the high line in the back of the field. The front of the field has Deke looking to try and deke some drivers out for some spots.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be really important that O'Sullivan doesn't lose his composure and lose the sight of that number 11 car. Oh my word, Justin, that was close.
Yeah, Deke just about got decked in that situation by the 19. The Frenchman making contact side pod to side pod on the tires.
That was quite a hip and shoulder check. That was sort of a little bit of roughing up that you don't usually see too much in IndyCar. You've usually seen that a bit more in the NASCAR side of things, but it's nice to see that there's some respectful hip and shoulder checks here going on tonight at Richmond. But I think that is sort of a thing that we'll see become more and more common as we go to the closing stages of this race. Still a long way to go yet. Do not even get me started on that. We're not even a quarter of the way through this race as we ride on board with Engrav. We'll see if he can make his way around the outside of Kinder, who is currently to our left-hand side. Beautifully done. Not too much of a challenge there. And this is just a perfect example, really, of how younger, fresher tyres can really do you some favors off a restart. Look at this, 2 in 1 lap pretty much each end of the racetrack. Engrave is just getting past cars left, right and center. It reminds me, Justin, of that opening scene from the original Cars movie when you see Lightning McQueen going left, right, round the outside, up the inside of all sorts of cars on his way to the front.
Pretty clear that tires are going to matter, to say the least. He just ran the same speed as the race leader with that outside line. Clegg, for his sake, for comparison's sake, though, hasn't gone anywhere. He's maintained the bottom instead of trying to pass everybody on the high side, looking like he's just trying to save his equipment a little bit and make sure he doesn't slide around again like he did before with the weight jacker.
Yeah, that's surprising that he hasn't made a little bit more progress than what he has already, considering that he has extremely fresher tyres than those around him. The best part of 30-lap fresher tyres after he made that pit stop after his Tokyo drift attempt into turn number 1, which brought out the caution, of course. But I think that, yeah, it could be him just saving his equipment, like you say, Justin, and trying to do the strategy that we've seen a lot of drivers attempt over the past season here in Velocity Online Racing, and just play a game of sitting back and letting everyone else get on with their business, let everyone else have their accidents, and then hopefully by the end of it, attrition goes in your favor and you find yourself in a good spot towards the end of the race.
We've seen some of the drivers really surge around here still, like Stellard, we talked about him. Now in the top 9, Mariani, the Hungarian, let some competitors go like Kinder. They're one of the French competitors as Clegg also follows suit. So as this gone on so far, the interesting thing is going to be where the rubber buildup is. You see this racetrack really taking a lot of tire marks as the day goes on so far. But so far, seems like many of those marks popping up towards that middle groove around the top of where the first dash marks are from the bottom of the racetrack. So there is a bit of Firestone rubber sticking to the surface.
That would be something that really these drivers need to play into their hands, or they need to keep in mind rather, as the race goes on, because of course this track will always be evolving. With cars circulating, more rubber will go down, which means that you may need to run slightly different ARBs. You might need to run a little bit more weight jacker. You might need to run a little bit less weight jacker. It's always something that you need to have in mind and constantly be adjusting, not only throughout a stint as you would normally with tire degradation, but as the circuit sort of rubbers in and evolves and becomes less green, and we see more racing lines develop. it's something that you might need to consider when you come into pit stops. You know, do you need to change a little bit of wing here and there, as we see a car at the front there tag the wall, and there's, oh, that was very, very close, boys. Stellard absolutely fired that one up the inside of Deke, and he really almost caught, well, he was caught napping there, Justin.
Thinking just about that contact, if anything, to the front wing. Stellard seems okay. Deke, in that case, also holding on for now. You see him put a cork in a bottle right now. 18-3 last time, 18-2 this time. This is actually checking everybody up a little bit. So how do you approach this to avoid making contact here, knowing you're a little bit faster with some of the drivers trying to hold on in these racing lines?
It's just something of what you need to do is you need to place your car in the perfect place where, obviously, it's not rocket science. I mean, you need to obviously put your car where the other car wants to go, and then you sort of stop people getting past in that sense. But it's a lot more tactical than that in IndyCar, because we have these massive front and rear wings, as we see debris go flying, and that's a rear wing modification, and he's going very, very loose into the wall.
Clegg goes around, caution flag waves again. Fraser Clegg try to clear on by Charapinti in that situation, and lost the rear wing as a result of the contact. Believe some front wing damage may have popped up also for the 19.
It's just, yeah, that was two cars going for the same bit of racetrack. We see cars mysteriously coming back on to cars after that, but that is an iRacing thing. But with no shadow of a doubt, I think that is day done for Fraser Clegg, unless he can get it back to the pits under this caution and have a miracle of a run to get the car back into contention. But he tried it once and he saved it, and unfortunately he ran out of lives. The second time ends Fraser Clegg's day into the outside wall.
So we can confirm the wing did pop up in the 19. Yeah, right there. Yeah. So once the internet adjusts there, it allows the rear wing to come back on just with the calculations for the sim. But obviously, it's the opposite case when it comes to Clegg, and Clegg dragging the wing around as most of the fields now pit. The only four cars make it, four cars that didn't pit. Altena, F-Tink, Engrave, and Sens in the 85 machine. Everybody else taking service to be able to get some fuel and tires here.
It's interesting to see the two championship contenders going with completely different strategies. We see O'Sullivan did actually come into the pits, and the only other car that's on track sort of around the top five that did pit under that caution was Hunter Engrave. Albeit his tires are 24 laps old, so he didn't pit this time around, but he has made one stop or one trip down pit road in this race. So it'll be interesting to see how Julien Altena will cope with this restart, albeit with his tires being the best part of 55 laps old. But it's not only him that's in that boat, so to say. Rodan F-Tink as well in the number 18. He's yet to pit in this one. 4 spots, a really good start that we actually saw for the number 18. Really making his way to the front of the field and making his presence known from early on. But it'll be really important, really, for the championship leader, the number 12 machine, to actually get back to the front and pass Hunter Engrave and really get after that number 11.
Sens, by the way, one of the Gridline Syndicate machines down pit road. So that leaves just the top 3, 2 of which not down pit road yet. You see on the pylon coming down. Remember, the estimated range for today, somewhere in the range of up to 85 laps today. Obviously, pitting under green is going to be a challenge, I think, today. It's a gamble. And I think these drivers up front are gambling that they're going to spin again. So they take the scheduled pit stop by that point. Let's find out how well they maintain the run here on their Firestones. Altena in control. Green flag is out, back underway. F-Tink looks to follow suit on the gas. O'Sullivan immediately going for second.
What a restart from the number 12. He raced it no time whatsoever, straight up the inside of Engrav. He's still going to run side by side. They're going to go side by side into turns number 3 and 4. But we look at the front, and that's Eftink and Altena running line astern off the restart. But it's really O'Sullivan, the one that wants to make the progress. I mentioned before we went green, he needs to make sure that number 11 doesn't get too far up the road. But he's really struggling actually to get past the number 77, Justin.
Yeah, right now really trying to wrap the bottom here. It seems as though we've seen after a few laps the tires equalize pretty quickly. In terms of average pace, my question will be once we get to the end of the run, where some of the pace will be. Right now, Altena and Eftink in clean space are quicker than everybody who's on the fresh tires right now as they try to get the temperatures up. Right now that gap between second and third growing by about half a second, if not 0.6 of a second, as majority of the field stays in this choo-choo train.
Yeah, the number 12 must be getting a little bit frustrated. He won't be getting frustrated, I don't think, but he will definitely be noticing that his two teammates are scampering off into the distance, and he does not really want that to be happening, as Deck has taken some front wing damage. You can see there, lost the front right side of his front wing down pit road for him, so that's going to be a green flag stop, and he will go a lap down. That's not something that you want this early on, Justin, is it?
Yeah, especially since it was the situation can confirm more reason why we've seen that. Mariani phased through the 83, wing damage caused while he was inside that machine, and we have more contact. A little bit of scrapey scrape, and Deech now gets some luck of the internet connection as the bumper will get itself reattached. The front wing stays together. That could have been much worse.
Yeah, you need to count your lucky stars in that sort of instance. But we're looking back to the front of the field, and the championship leader is struggling to make progress. Engrav is really making that middle lane work, and whatever he seems to be running on that car, no one else seems to be making it work like he can. But it seems to be now that he's running a blend of the inside in 3 and 4, and then the middle and higher line in 1 and 2. But I say that this time, and he then dives back to the inside. I think this is him trying to start and mount an attack on Eftink in the 18. Meanwhile, I think Altena is going to be licking his lips and rubbing his hands together at this, being 1.3 seconds up the road. He's going to hate to see another caution coming, but if it stays green for the moment, he's going to have a lovely time of it.
And mind you, if it does stay green, there is also the counter trait to all that, lap traffic. And one of the major things to mention about today, we haven't talked about this yet since we haven't seen the lap traffic, but the lap cars are not required to move out of the way for the first 276 laps or so, 275 should say. After lap 276 to the end is when they would move out of the way instead of the normal 10, since we're at a short track. In other words, Jack, traffic doesn't need to yield to the blue flags here today for the most part.
Yeah, if it's out of your convenience, or you simply just don't want to, or you don't like the guy that's coming up behind you, you don't have to get out of the way, and you won't get penalised for it. So that's one of the perks that we need to watch out for today. A lot like what happened last time out for the Velocity Online Racing Series at Indianapolis. We had a lot of cars coming into play later on in the race being lapped down, etc., before the end of the race, where then the blue flag does apply. And I think that that's the best way to do it, because it still then provides the leaders with the entitled racing that they want to race for the win without the intervention of any lapped cars or anything like that. But I do think that lapped cars, as you say, Justin, will play a big part in today's race, especially with how difficult it seems, especially for O'Sullivan, to get past another car when the pace is so similar.
Yeah, right now 17.7s for everybody now. That original sparkle of speed we've seen for the race leaders off the jump has faded away, down from 3/4 of a fall off now. Of course, this one, there's Deke, a lap car now in the midst of things. See his small difference after his service, making some moves. Spent 24 seconds getting the repairs done. Kinder, all I can do is get the run built up on the outside, allow the 83 to go. Seems like, at least to me, I know the inside, a lot of people seem to prefer that, Jack, especially for the racing groove. But the outside has been the majority of where some of these passes have come. The problem is no one's leaving that outside open for you to wrap the top.
Exactly, as we're going to see a replay here of a pass. I think this is going to be O'Sullivan getting past Engrav, because it was a checkup. So was that strategic? I mean, I'm gonna be very sort of Formula One Drive to Survive about that. But that was very, very strange to see F-Tink going so slowly as we ride on board with the number 77. It was almost there was contact as well, Justin. That's very, very strange.
I think F-Tink starting to really start to fade a little bit, trying to make sure to punch the number, because O'Sullivan, the next lap, almost did the same thing to him. Now O'Sullivan has gotten himself around. Let's take a look at this. See that charge right afterwards, built up the run, and immediately zipped by with the little diamond line for the front straightaway.
I think that, just coming back to it, I think that F-Tink's tyres are actually the best part of 76 laps old, so that could have been a perfect explanation to that Engrav incident, that we just saw on replay. But it really seems to be that you hit sort of 60 plus laps and the tyres really start to fall off a cliff, and you can see how much F-Tink is struggling now. Altena, on the other hand, seems to be making an absolute mincemeat of the rest of the pack at the moment. On the same lap age tyre as F-Tink is, that is 77 laps currently. It's not 77 laps on green flag running conditions, but when you look at Liam O'Sullivan, who has now made himself back into second place, his are only 24 laps old. So his tyres are almost like they're almost like brand spanking new Firestone, alternate tyres when we go to the road courses, compared to Altena's 79 lap old Firestones that he's had on since the start of the race, Justin.
Take a look at Grish, by the way, and how he's doing amongst the top 5 so far, right before he started off this race. His pace still in the 17.8s right now, as the majority of the leaders have fallen off here. Going with the sexy Waltrip car here today. I'm not sure what that beverage is, but I'm pretty sure he's a Michael Waltrip fan.
Yeah, that's quite a funky name. I respect that. I respect that title sponsorship for today, and I think that name will stick with me for quite a while. But I want to go back to something that you mentioned, Justin, just before we had our surprise moment with F-Tink and Engrave, is the fact of using the different lines. And I think that everyone is so scared, as you say, to leave that inside open. Because you may not have practiced that higher line, or you may not have known how to master it, as we see F-Tink now adopting to a slightly higher line in turns 1 and 2 to try and fend off Engrav. But as you say, it's where most of the passes have been made, is by using that outside line, or even doing the sort of diamond corner technique that we saw on board with O'Sullivan, which is how he got back to second place. But I really do think that that outside line is sort of being slept on a little bit, as we see Gresh behind in the sexy Waltrip car, sort of making use of that clean air higher up the racetrack and sort of preserving his tyres. Probably not, it won't make a huge difference, but every little helps.
Oh, by the way, he is a streamer and content creator, from what I can tell, hence part of the name too. Gives himself some branding. Hasn't uploaded a video that's not a live stream in 4 months, but hey, he is amongst those that has his own perspective being showcased on the platform right now on the streaming side of things, to a grand total of how many viewers? I am its only viewer currently. He also ran last year's 500 for more importance sake, and was a very good driver last year.
Well, it's always good to see drivers sort of broadcasting their own perspective, because it gives a really big insight as to what goes through a driver's head and what goes through their minds and how their thought process plans out over one of these races. Because as we see a big dive from Engrav on F-Tink trying to get this move done, he's going to park it up right next to the 18 on the back straight away. The 18 is going to make use of that higher line. He will get the run off of the corner, but will Engrav be able to clear him? No. F-Tink stays ahead for one more lap.
Still continues to play defense at this point. The thought process is, let's build the wall. Make sure no one is able to pass on by it here today. Engrave again having to check up for good measure in the Aero wash. Already past that estimated fuel window with all the caution periods now for Altena and F-Tink. They are hoping for someone to make a mistake, and there's Engrave finally got to the outside. They should get it done to move up one more spot. And Fraser Clegg also feeding some dirty air up the road as lap traffic.
Yeah, as you see, as soon as F-Tink gets pinned to that inside line and he has to put more steering angle into the car, he just fades away completely, losing both places there to not only Engrav but to Grace as well. And just going back to that number 27 machine and the fact of, you know, streaming your own perspective on these races, is drivers not only have to focus on not crashing into the outside wall or the inside wall or each other for that matter, but they have to be their own pit strategists, they have to be their own setup engineers, not in this certain case or scenario, but in many situations they do. And that is an incredible thing that these drivers have to do while racing, don't get me wrong, at up to speeds of, you know, near 200 miles an hour on this specific, this short oval here tonight at Richmond. It's really an incredible multitasking feat to be able to A, race so close with those around you, and B, get the perfect strategy and adjust it with time as cautions come and go.
Ariani, Carpentier, once those battling out. Carpentier trying to hold on to the other line, trying to make sure no pass is made with the old eSport machine, but he's pushing tight. Might be starting to have a little bit of an issue trying to get the rotation down, because the 19 seems to be really having to wait an extra beat to hit the throttle back down on exit.
Yeah, I would imagine that there's a little bit more weight jacker being used in that 19 machine, so it will do him a favor now. It will definitely give him that boost in performance, but that will only start to eat his tires a little bit more, as I believe that is Altena coming around to lap these guys. As whoa, is that contact?
Hit the wall. He hit the wall and nearly had contact. Yeah. And now that's going to be a concern if there's any internal damage. Think it may have popped back out for him, but the 19 is fading fast. Altena just lapped him.
Yeah, this is Altena trying to find his way through as quickly as possible. What was a 2-second gap is now only 0.8 of a second at the front of the field. They're not side by side, not side by side. They're not behind each other perfectly on the circuit, but Altena has now gotten through the traffic, and it's O'Sullivan's turn now to get past the 19. We're going to ride on board from his T-cam to see how he manages this. He's going to dive to the inside, make it very, very clear that this is his racetrack and this is his way of getting past, and he wants to waste no time in chasing down not only his championship rival, not only his teammate, but his team boss as well.
One of the major things as they continue to cut through the traffic, and the thought process here is the hybrid rules, because remember, when they came back here in 2022, obviously hybrid wasn't a factor at all. It wasn't a thing back then in the iRacing service. Not even sure if we were still getting updates to the IndyCar at the time. Hold on, near spin, as that was near contact going on, but then Graham had to cut to the inside that time to get around the 19. What was about to say, a lot of these drivers having to manage that deployment potentially of the hybrid energy, which might be difficult when you only have straightaways of maybe 5-6 seconds at a time.
Yeah, that's something that these drivers have definitely had to get used to over this season of VOR, especially because it being the first season with the hybrid in place on iRacing, as we see the number 19 now. That is Charpentier and Altena going into the pits. Okay, so this is lap 102, 103, and this is going to be when those who haven't pitted yet will make their first pit stop. So that is Rodan Eftink, that is Altena, our race leader, that is Charpentier as well, he's in the box, and I believe that are the only cars currently that have been yet to make a pit stop, now all coming down pit road at the same time, Justin.
Oh, under green, yeah, the 19, remember, having the issues with the wall moments ago, may have decided, you know what, I want to get off cycle, elected to take tires, had a shorter stop. It's about 10-second stops for those for the leaders. Now here's the tough thing, but the timing of when those stops come in for Altena and company, that puts them a lap down. They need this race to stay green now for at least another 30, 40, 50 laps to cycle back to the point. So the come on caution dance turns into come on stay green dance.
Exactly. This is something where you're sort of taking a very, very big gamble, because what I would put my money on if I was at the betting shop, I would put a bet on the fact that, you know, the cautions are going to come at the start of the race, of which we had a number of cautions at the start of this race. But then when you're going through the pit cycle and there's just sort of, it seems to the spectator's eye, where there's cars just everywhere, there's not really any rhyme or reason as to who is fighting for what position, as there's contact in the background, car in the wall. just as I was saying, caution is coming out, and nightmare for Altena.
Mariani making contact with the 19 fresh off pit road. Bet he had moved up the racetrack, didn't he? Looked like he washed up with a little bit of the Aero.
It's between the two of them. I think, as you say, it's going to be two cars, sort of one washing up into the real estate of the car on the outside, as we see the 19 just getting the dirty air, and unfortunately just collecting a victim on the exit of turn number 4. That's so disappointing.
Really changed the complexion of this race, because at the top of the caution flag, things get flipped around a little bit in the order with the contact. There were 7 cars on the lead lap. And that is the worst thing possible if you're F-Tank and Altena, especially F-Tank. He pinned himself 2 down with the pit stop. Altena, 1 down. And guess what? We'll see how things fare out, because O'Sullivan had stayed out the first time. Did come down the second time, though. That was where the hesitation came in. That puts Greach, who is yet to pit, to the race lead. He's on a 55-lap stint. Will he stay out? It looks like this will pin a lot of people a lap down. The only wave around is the 19 now.
Yeah, him staying out has caused a number of headaches across the field, and especially one for, who is that? That will be F-Tank, that, as you say, being the first car 2 laps down, so he will be pinned not on the lead lap once we get to the restart here, as we see now cars getting the lucky dog and back through. So that is supposed to happen, don't worry. He has got the caution flag. It's not like the race has just gone green for him. But yeah, Road and F-Tank, that is so unfortunate and just bad luck, really, because he had to come into the pits. He was literally completely out of gas at that point. And as soon as he comes into the pits, comes out, the caution goes, and after such a strong start to the evening, I think he's going to be a bit frustrated at that.
We'll have to get a quick race sorted out here as we get ready for restart in the next couple laps or so. Dan Inch in all that situation, very lucky too, by the way. That caution came out just as he had slammed the wall a bit with the front wing, so allowed him to get a chance to reset on the tires. Get that fixed also once the lap traffic. But let's do the math a little bit now, shall we? Because if we do the breakdown from this point forward, we're talking about final pit stops with about 30 to go if it was to go green. That's a big if, obviously, Jack, but right now that seems to be the play as we come to the restart this time through.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the go-to sort of basic strategy, but I think, oh, what has happened here? Dan Ench.
Well, I never mind on that fixed wing.
Oh my God.
That's the second car to face with the 83 today.
How has this come about then? So we have, okay, so it's obviously a checkup, and then Dan Ench is minding his own business, and we're just sort of, oh guys, just sort of morphing into one IndyCar there. That's, yeah, we must have been checking fuel numbers or checking strategy or talking over strategy with the engineer, and just a lapse of concentration. That is a really unfortunate incident for Dan Ench there.
Just as he was thinking, I'm okay after the wall hit before the caution flag.
Yeah.
He's definitely not okay now. So now we'll set things up here with 2 cars, the 27 and the 85, who did not pit this caution flag. Everybody else took the opportunity for the pit stop. Some people have pit 3 times already today. Backing away, and in this series, you can make jumps to the inside, and a lot of people did that already. Since getting attacked, Kinder got by, and Craig trying to get by. Fiola's boxed in as well.
Yeah, Vinci is a massive cork in the bottle here. Everyone has taken fresh tyres, but Vinci in the 85 is the only one that has stayed out, and he's doing a massive, massive favour to the 27 machine, because he can get away. Kinder was the only one that has got past, and Fiola's now in the 06 machine. He's looking to get past, but Vinci is putting up a stellar defence of basically the entire field. It's like trying to hold back an angry stampede of rhinos as they come across the stripe to start lap 114.
Yeah, eventually that wall breaks down, and eventually it turns into pandemonium. Haven't reached pandemonium yet, But we are reaching a lot of urgency with Liam O'Sullivan and Munsto just having the urgency to make some of these passes here over the course of this one. Right now, outside line again coming to the play. All while Sexy Waltrip holds on to the race lead over the front side by side. F-Tank might and will have to unlock himself the hard way. He is trying to push hard too.
Yeah, that's good driving from F-Tank. He's had a rough situation. He's got his head down and he's getting on with the job. Hopefully, for his sake, another caution can come out and he can get himself back onto the lead lap, because that 18 has looked so fast so far today. But it's still, I'm really impressed with the 27 still keeping the lead with the best part of 60 plus laps on his tires, compared to Vinci in the 85, who's just dropping like a stone. Now under fire from Zambati, the rookie, after just losing out from Stellard, Fiolos, O'Sullivan and Engrav. He started in the top 2 and is currently 7th, about to be 8th.
All the playing around over the course of this one. Now, there is an interesting note, because the streaming perspective for your race leader, that allows us the opportunity to at least see one thing that you can't see normally in these cars with the iRacing cameras and the viewpoints, is the mapping. Alternative fuel mapping zones. Your thoughts on the alternatives, because most of the field will run 5th mapping, the map 5 for the very max of the RPM, pushing 1 for pacing speed, in between to save fuel. But with 5 fuel save, I should say, with a lot of these teams, 1 the fastest, as the router say, to get the number right. What does 6 do in that circumstance here, if you're, say, the race leader?
Yeah, I think the way it goes is, obviously you've got 1 to 5 are the fuel saving maps, and then I believe 6 and 7, do please excuse the joke, is more, I believe, as far as I know, for road courses. So they will have different throttle responses, different torque points, to able to maximize the best out of a road course rather than ovals. And then obviously you've got map 8, which is the caution map, which basically just uses minimal fuel possible. And I have not it's not unheard of, sorry, to know of drivers that are in racing situations and are in extreme fuel saving scenarios, where it has been racing conditions at places like Indy, where the slipstream does help a lot, and have flicked it into map 8, which is the extreme fuel saving caution map, just for a couple of seconds. So I think that definitely having the ability, which again is something else you can change on these Indy cars, the fuel map will come into a big play at the moment. I would imagine that Greg in the 27 is possibly using a little bit more of a richer fuel map, with the likes of potentially Kinder, Engrav and O'Sullivan maybe using a little bit more of a tamer engine map. I would maybe put it to maybe 2 or 3 rather than 1 being the full push, just because they have the tyre advantage, only being 20 laps run on those tyres, and they know that the car that's leading the race at the moment hasn't been into the pits in 70 laps. So if they wanted to, they could swallow him up and eat him whole. But I think that they're just going to do it gently, because they can manage it and they can do it whenever they want to, really.
And have better fuel mileage for doing so, and be able to try and stretch those windows a little bit. Maybe cut out an extra pit stop, what originally was to be a 3-stop race in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the timing sheet at the moment, the only cars that have been into the pits once this race are the 27, the 85, and then Altena in the 11. So those are the only guys. Oh, sorry, no, excuse me. Rodan F-Tink as well is the only other. So it's those guys that have only actually made the 1 pit stop. Everyone else, I'm seeing Sebastian Kinder there in 3rd place. He's been in pit road 5 times. You've got Dan Ench down in 11th. He's been in 4 times already. Toby Deek, he's been in 4 times. And then you've got the likes of Stallard, Fiolos. They've been in 3 times. So it's really going to be, because of the cautions that we've had, it's really just going to be whatever works best, as we see Engrav charging up and going for the move to take the lead.
And it's Fraser Clegg again, back straight away. The 57 going around. And he got collected with Deke. Deke got the run, and Deke phases through car number 3.
Wow. Yeah, that's there's nothing that Fraser Clegg could do there. I mean, it's kind of ironic to see, not to say that that's not the first time that that car has had no rear wing on it, but it seems to be that there's just internet problems for Deke there, and as you say, driving through 3 cars tonight, and unfortunately taking another victim in the likes of Fraser Clegg, who has not had the most smooth running of evenings so far tonight.
Clegg's got a meatball flag from it. Deke has gotten a black flag. He's reached the incident count, which I think would be hard with this car. 15 incident points gets you a penalty. 21 is a disqualification. And there goes the race leader into pit road. Hunter Ingrave will cycle to the point. So if you do the math from this point forward, realistically speaking, it's a one-stopper no matter what for the 27. So there's that at least.
Yeah, exactly. He's sort of cemented that sort of pit strategy at the moment. But, I mean, Julien Altena, he'll be loving this at the moment, being the first car a lap down. Hopefully for him, he will get the wave around this time under caution. So that will be a sort of a race-saving incident for him. He will be loving the fact that Toby Dees' Wi-Fi is not going quite so smoothly as it potentially has done in the past, as we see the 27 now coming back out onto the rear end of this field on screen, but he is only dropping down to 5th place.
Can confirm Lucky Dog Altena is taking the service. And Deke has just confirmed that he did not see Clegg on his end, so it is confirmed a technical issue involving the 83 machine. In terms of that contact, at least, that caused that spark up. But Kinder, you mentioned working with experience-wise in the broadcast booth. So far today, he's had to fight his way to get up here. Up 11, he is your second biggest mover compared to somebody who's up 16.
Yeah, it's a good. We saw going back to the VOR Indy 500, which was the last time we saw these guys in action. Kinder was out very, very early on in that one, so it's good to see him have a good run in the race. Obviously, you know, having the opportunity to work with him on the broadcast side of things means that our relationship is a little bit more than just seeing names on a screen, especially as well riding on board with the number 12, a good friend of mine. Driving that machine today, but it's definitely good to see Kinder up there for a change. He's had a pretty poor run of luck in terms of race results over the last couple of rounds in the VOR series, so it's really good to see him fighting at the sharp end of this field, and hopefully for his sake he can seal it all off with a good result come the checkered flag.
Just a second start in this series this season. He finished 14th, as you talked about, at Indy, where he was averaging about in the top 12 in the course of that event. Ended up finishing 796 total corners over the course of that race for the 500-mile distance. And Grave is now the race leader, followed by Kinder O'Sullivan. Somebody Rush is along with Fieldless and Vince in the top grouping. Here comes O'Sullivan. Got a better jump from second. Immediately sends it. Can he clear for the spot? No. The Frenchman gets the power back down to the outside.
He's really good at those restarts, isn't he, O'Sullivan, in the number 12 machine? He's caught everyone in front of him napping today whenever there's been a restart. Unfortunately, though, he's never quite been able to seal the deal as he looks again to the inside. This time clears Kinder before the apex of the corner, but Kinder's going to have to run on the outside. But it's not going to be enough as he moves up the racetrack to seal the deal and sort of block off the number 47 from having any sort of retaliation effect. That's a really good move from the number 12, and he's now going to start setting his eyes after the 77 to take the lead back and set foot at the front of the field.
Sullivan just 7 laps led so far, 30 going the way to Engrave here this evening. We started off in row 2. Remember, when it comes to your championship points leader, a couple race wins on the season, including the win at Indy last time out on the 21st. Remember, he also won the season opener at Auto Club, but has only had one finish outside the top 5 all season, and that was one of the doubleheader races at Road America.
Yeah, that was a crazy race. That race, I remember covering that one with Gary, and that was action-packed. If you haven't seen that, please do go and watch that after the race finishes here tonight, because that was an extremely action-packed doubleheader. As we look at Altena now making progress, he's currently down in 7th. Now 6th as he gets past Zambati, chasing after Fiolas. But Zambati's going to be trying to fight back, but it's not going to be enough.
Nothing doing once again. for the 85 in the court of that run. Right now, John Stellard continues to have a stellar day in his red machine. Continuing to carve on through the Stellard and Wild machine. Looking to the inside. Continuing to gain some ground after being one of the drivers who did not have the best qualifying runs here today. He was in the 17.4s in qualifying. About race trim, essentially, on pace. But he has been running at that same tempo, if not better, with the race conditions and been picking them off one by one this run.
Yeah, those Firestones, those 10-lap-old Firestones on Stellard's car is really doing some justice for him at the moment, giving him beautiful purchase on the racetrack out there and making progress a breeze for him as we look back to one of our championship contenders getting past Fiolas. So now it's sort of after the big dogs. You've got the 27, the 47, the 12 and the 77 next on the list of Altena, who is, well, has got rather lucky. I'll be totally honest with you. He did get quite lucky with that caution and being the lucky dog getting back to the lead lap. Not so lucky for Rodan Eftink though, who made the same mistake as Altena, now looking at it in hindsight, of leaving it out and running the tank till it was dry, and then as soon as they left pit lane, the caution came out, and that sort of cemented at least Eftink's fate, being 2 laps down. That's how he got there. But Altena has worked his way back onto the lead lap and currently sits 5th.
Body lets them on through. Clegg in this case once again, and at this point, Fraser Clegg just hoping for a miracle in terms of his ability to gain points here. Clegg going to have his roughest race of the season here. He is 30 laps down. He finished at 30th at the Brickyard, so I guess you could say that could be in the worst case scenario. So a couple of ups and downs for the rookie as we are almost at the cross flags here from Richmond Raceway. Field really settling on in over this run this time with Engrave setting the pace in the 17.7s on average. His average is a little bit slower than O'Sullivan, who is by about half a tenth quicker for the past 5 laps.
Yeah, it seems O'Sullivan's starting to put the pressure on Engrav a little bit. He's starting to knock at the door, saying, you know, I'm still here. I can keep up with you. Don't forget about me. If you had headlights fitted to the front wing of that Dallara IR18, I'm sure they would be having a couple of flashes here and there. Engrav as well is no slouch behind the wheel of an IndyCar. He definitely knows how to cope with the pressure and cope with leading an IndyCar race, and he's doing a fantastic job so far, leading the most part of more than 30 laps in this race this evening. But O'Sullivan is going to be hot on his heels, do not get me wrong. 3/10 now of the gap at the front.
Yeah, Viola's, by the way, over this, having a solid run for his sake, one of the Team Watson machines. And Team Watson trying to find a way to get ahead of Arden here today in the team standings. They were separated today by exactly 1 point, including the decimal points. Right now we're seeing some of those drivers today put up some runs. Same for Gresh here today in his 4th spot. But the team dynamic, haven't touched too much yet on that. Altena Autosport had the advantage over Rogue, remember, entering the day in the first place. Right now, it seems like both of those teams, yet again, are your top teams. But it's been back and forth. It's not been a one-team-fits-all and dominates-all type of day.
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of different cars sort of fighting at the front. One of them being this 27 Enjoy Sexy Wall Trip machine driven by Gresh, who led a large part of this race, albeit very, very nicely played into his hands with strategy, being slightly off cycle, cycled him to the front for a bit. But he definitely looked like he was comfortable when he was leading the race. And we ride on board now with Altena, who's another person, another man that has led some laps here this evening. So it's really, really good to see we don't have one team running out, you know, running completely away with it, running cars 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 or so ever. We see a lot of different teams with a lot of different drivers running at the front and leading parts of this race, which I think is something that is very, very commendable to how high level this series is just in. This is, from what I've experienced, some of the best IndyCar racing that I've seen all season.
Couple back straight away. Deke just slammed the wall down to the 83, broke the right front tire off the car. We stay green as the leaders will pass on by here. See those drivers zipping on by as Deke is low in the Ardent machine. No caution, we stay green.
We'll get a replay of that, I believe. So I actually missed that, so this is going to be the first time looking at it for me, but it looks like he just has a wheel disconnect, Justin. That looks like a hardware problem rather than a driver error.
He did confirm at the least that he's running on Wi-Fi, which can cause some troubles with iRacing. That car just didn't turn.
Oh, that's really, really strange. He's not even that far gone into his stint either, only 20 laps on that set of tyres. So that's really, really strange to see a car just understeer that aggressively when he didn't really even have anyone in front of him.
Yeah, so that hard slam. We'll see him well down pit road for the next while or so with the chassis damaged up there. I was about to say in the midst of that, Altena with that lucky dog has now made the charge for the battle for third. Gonna try and shake and bake his way through. These two are faster than the leader, by the way. Kinder still holding firm. Outside once again, Altena says, if the inside doesn't work, I'm gonna run the wall and ramp into the wall, I guess, to make a pass.
What a move that was. That was absolutely sensational from one of our championship contenders, proving why he is running at the sharp end of this field for the crown honor at the end of the season, making a stellar move around the outside of Seb Kinder there to take third place away from him and set after the top two, albeit with 20 lap younger tyres on his machine compared to Kinder in the 47. But now, as you say, they are lapping faster than the leader. I believe O'Sullivan has been lapping faster than the leader, because look at the gap now. There's actually no gap. There's an overlap, and O'Sullivan's going to take the lead, Justin. He's going to go into turn one with his nose ahead.
Yeah, but still, the 77 holding on to the outside. One of the conversation points is, would you be able to make a pass with no traffic factored in? And well, the answer is O'Sullivan can make some moves without the traffic coming in. They're on the same strategy. Just the problem is getting the clearance. Engrave knows the outside is good for the runs off the corner. That 12 cannot clear with these sends.
You saw how hard the 12 sent that into turn number one last time around. Is he going to do the same thing here? He's going to try it. He's going to try and force the 77 higher up the racetrack, but that's just going to kill his momentum coming off the corner. He's going to look again. There is an overlap. He's going to just be a little bit too far behind. There's a tiny bit of a gap now opening up between the 77 and the 12, sorry. But it seems to be that O'Sullivan is really, really struggling. When there's a car that's similar on pace to him, he's really struggling to get the move done.
Yeah, some of those watching along will tell you that's obviously the case when it comes to this type of racing, where that clean air advantage for that lead car in turn is so much stronger. Look at O'Sullivan with the Aero whiff. That Aero wash nearly took him into the wall just by running the same line.
Yeah, it's going to really hurt his exit as well. You can see the steering wheel go light as soon as he gets in that Aero wash of the Rogue Racing machine in front of him. Watch again. As he comes off of turn number two, you just see the small corrections as he crosses over the wake of that car in front. And it looks like there's not a whole lot he can do at the moment, because Engrav is just too similarly matched on pace that there isn't really enough of a pace difference for him to make the move stick. And we saw him try a crazy send to the inside and try and do a NASCAR style slide job to nick the apex off of Engrav in the 77 and sort of force him up the track and force him to back out, but it really just didn't work. And all that's going to do is drive the temperature of O'Sullivan's Firestones through the roof, and then they're not going to come down, and that just means a whole bunch of bad things like tyre wear and obviously poorer lap times. And the gap now you can see opening back up to over half a second almost.
65 laps led now for car 77, as lap traffic is now up the road. Inch is not making it easy. You see the slide down for the 77. Inch had to cut from outside to inside, with Inch sliding up a little bit. O'Sullivan now stays laser focused. You see that with the front nose cross point as O'Sullivan cuts his way through. So there's that traffic coming into play that time by. Speed's dropped by a 10th, but not enough for O'Sullivan to really dig. Altena also reaching the same traffic now.
Yeah, that was really important of the number 12 there, to get past Dan Inch as quickly and efficiently as possible, because all it takes is a little bit longer than it needs to for a gap to open up, and then suddenly what you've worked so hard for to close up in terms of a gap to the car in front can open itself back up incredibly quickly. And it looks like O'Sullivan may be sort of winding things back a little bit. We saw him all over Engrab a few laps ago, but now it seems to be like he is going to be the one on the defensive foot in the next few laps, because look at this, the number 11, the car on your screen at the moment, that blue and white machine is gaining ever and ever more on the number 12.
Altena has been very, very fast. He's been near a tenth quicker than the race leader over the past 5 laps. A few hundreds quicker over the past 10. That's added up to at least a few tenths over the past 10 overall gained. So Altena has been knocking the time down very slowly and precisely when he's been in clean space. You can see how he's been using the top line, though, to his advantage, keeping the roll in it to be able to chip away.
As we ride on board with Altena, it'll be interesting to see how he is running this circuit at the moment, given it with 40 lap old tires. See, look, he goes for the extreme. Okay, this is higher than we've ever seen anyone run turns 1 and 2 this evening. And is he going to do the same in 3 and 4? He's going to go into sort of the middle line, and what he's doing there is he's not only saving his tires by putting less steering angle through the front axle and less energy through those front tires, but he's also using and making use of the cleaner air around him. And look at the performance that he's got over the car in front of him. O'Sullivan seems to be really struggling at the moment with getting raw pace out of that machine, and these two fighting for the championship and fighting for second on the racetrack at the moment. But it looks like Altena is in a different form of machinery to the number 12 at the moment.
Yep, there is the slice to the inside. Yet again, no. Altena's got to do it high side. That's the only way to get this done here at this racetrack. And right now, you already know that that's not going to be easy with O'Sullivan preferring the high side now, too.
Yeah, that could have been so wrong, Justin. We saw how quickly Altena had to step on the brakes there to avoid colliding with the side pod of his teammate O'Sullivan, and that could have been absolutely horrendous. That would have made for a really awkward team debrief later on this evening. But you can see there from Altena, he really needs to make the move on the outside, as you said, because whenever someone has sort of made that dive to the inside and tried to do that NASCAR-style slide job and sort of block pass, if you will, it's never really gone to plan. It's almost like the corner is too long to sort of be able to send it in properly and get the car up in front of the car in front of you before they sort of start getting the run off of the corner.
Altena will now try and get the power back down and chip back away. 75 laps led earlier today for the 11 machine. The Velocity Online Racing sponsored machine. Altena Auto Sport car looks to try and chip away once again. By the way, top 5 separated by 5 seconds. Everybody else starting to slowly lose ground as the run goes on, because Mariani and is about to get lapped here by the race leader Engrave. So heavy lap traffic expected with the back half of the top 10 coming up here, as this run is one of our longest green flag stints of the day, more than 50 laps.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of our top cars here that's coming up to this lap traffic dive into the pit lane, because looking at the stints on my timing screen at the moment, we have Engrav, who's on 79, O'Sullivan, who's on 78, Altena, that's on 55, and then Kinder is on 79 as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of our drivers decides, okay, well, I'm going to try and make use of this traffic at the moment and try and get my pit stop done at the moment, while they're sort of trying to deal with that, and hope that when I come out the pits, I'm on the other side of the racetrack to this cluster of traffic. Although the downside to that is having exactly what happened to Altena and Roden Eftink, in a caution comes out as soon as you leave the pit lane.
Exactly, and you don't want to risk that. That's why Altena's in the spot where if there was green flag stops coming up in the next few minutes here, he'd cycle to the race lead and likely pin a majority of the drivers down a lap. That would be O'Sullivan, Kinder, and Engrave in particular. That would have to pit in the next few laps per our estimates to make sure they can go to an hour pit stop, and would for sure have to go for one more stop with under 30 laps to go. There's the look to the outside this time with traffic. O'Sullivan trying to hold on to the outside again. Altena not willing to send it inside and try and stuff it in. They are seeing some drivers up the road. The 8th place percentage was a lap down Then Mariani, who is 2 laps down up the road, that's about to factor into this.
Yeah, this has a recipe to be a very, very spicy battle, Justin. As they opt to go to the outside line, we've got there, I think, as you say, that's Mariani, who is being super nice to these leaders, lifting off and letting them have the outside line. He's sort of sacrificing his own race there, and that's very, very commendable of the number 88 machine as they make their way past the rest of the lap traffic in this sort of wave. As he actually tags the wall there, that could have been very, very bad. Luckily, Altena was well clear before that, so there's no danger in that respect, but he's still trying to make that outside line work. But O'Sullivan is doing a textbook job in defense here, just parking the car exactly where Altena wants his own car to be in order to make a move. It seems to be that diving it to the inside, as you say, Justin, is really not the way to go about this. You need to time the run and sort of steal that outside line as early in the corner as you can to really set it up for the opposite end of the racetrack, so then you can have that outside line and pin the inside car to the bottom of the racetrack and really just force them to scrub their tires and really induce some understeer, as we see Altena going to the inside this time.
Here we go. They have traffic in front. Charpentier is up the road, trying to pin O'Sullivan behind him. O'Sullivan has a lift because the 19 slammed the wall down. Whoa. 19 in the wall with the lap traffic, and Altena gets the job done on the inside.
That was some beautiful racecraft from Altena, being able to use the lapped traffic in the likes of Charpentier to make the move on O'Sullivan, and that was some really smart racing there from number 11. I would have thought that if that wasn't there, we could have seen a very, very different situation towards the end of the race. And I'm going to tell you now, Justin, I think that number 12 is now going to struggle to re-overtake Julien Altena. This is Onboard.
Yeah, take a look at this. Watch for some of this to build up in the first place. Once the traffic came into play, it set things up right on a silver platter for Altena to set this up originally. You see how much they're closing up to the 19? By this upcoming time by, he says, you know what? If I get side by side with the back straightaway, he knows that car on the outside is going to hold up O'Sullivan.
Exactly. He's praying here that Charpentier doesn't take the racing line and actually gives them the room, as we see there from the 360 cam. O'Sullivan really just getting a little bit more of the dirty air from the lapped Charpentier, and unfortunately that's all it took for Altena to get the performance that he needed over that number 12. And yeah, we go back to live pictures and the gap is starting to form already. O'Sullivan is really struggling, I think, in terms of raw pace at the moment, especially it has been over the last 50 laps or so, Justin. He's faded away quite a lot.
Under 100 laps to go in what has been a very quick race here at Richmond for a 300-lap race. Field's been, well, respectful. The field hasn't decimated each other's cars for the most part, but it's been about survival of who is quickest on the long run. Right now, Stellard at risk of being the next car lapped down as you keep an eye on drivers like Grinch holding on to the top 5, but right now, his pace is a lot slower. I think he's trying to make sure he gets to the 80 to go mark 100%, because he's already at 71 on the stint.
Yeah, I think he's definitely trying to eke this one out as long as possible. I'm surprised that he hasn't tried and had another go at getting past Kinder, but now you've brought that to the table. I think he's just using Kinder as a little bit of a windbreak, as a chance to gain the most minute amount of performance from the slipstream that he will have at our very short front and back straights here at Richmond this evening. But as I said before, every little bit will help, and it's almost useful to have a car in front of you when you're trying to save, not only for the obvious reasons of slipstream, but just as a reference, just so that you know you're not driving too slowly and you're still trying to maximize what you have and still try and go as fast as possible.
Yeah, the viewpoint is, as he is closer with the traffic that time, not able to get by. He's kept it in map 5 from my understanding over the course of this entire race, by the way. That's where some of the confusion in terms of how numbers weren't popped up. But you can see he's still willing to make passes with it. O'Sullivan and company are coming on down for their stops, while the 27 tries to move up and out of position himself.
this is going to be, I believe this is going to be moved on now. If he can just send this one in and move Kinder up the racetrack a little bit more, because he's going to give him the squeeze. He gives him the racing room. Kinder's going to get the exit. And this is a copy and paste of what we've seen all evening, Justin. A car that has the pace and wants to go to the inside and make the move, but you just don't get the exit if you're running that inside line. And it seems to be that it's completely even, regardless of which lane you decide to run. But obviously getting the exit towards the next corner is more important. So I think that outside line has definitely become, over the course of this race, it's become the more preferred line as Kinder now comes in to pit.
Kept smooth on the entry as we've seen the green machine use the outside just in case there was an issue. Kinder made it 102 laps, by the way. Engrave is at 103. That's how aggressive some of the saving is to get another 10 laps or so, if not 5, out of these fuel tanks. You get another 5 laps, you maybe have a shot to make it to the end on fuel. They have to stretch it.
Yeah, something that we need to take note of as well is because O'Sullivan was the only one that came into the pits out of our sort of top contenders in recent laps. He is now, when did he come into the pits? 4 laps ago. So he's definitely outside of that sort of 85 lap stint region. So we're going to really need to watch how he gets on, and he's not going to be as aggressive as he might have been earlier on in this race, because he's going to have to try and eke out another sort of 5 or 10 laps like some of our drivers are doing at the moment. Although he's going to have to do it when it sort of really matters, Justin. He's going to have to do it in sort of the business end of this race.
The fuel-saving wizard and Engrave, who has all season long been able to extend windows much of the way, just pit. He's now down, and it's a couple laps shy of the estimated window at the top end to make it on fuel. He's going to have to do a little bit of lift and coast, possibly save a little bit of gas if he wants to get an extra couple miles or so out of that fuel tank.
Yeah, I think it's very, very, very fantastic talent that Engrave has to be able to eke out the fuel 2 points where he has, and with 86 to go now and just coming back on the racetrack, he's fairly comfortable with me being able to make it to the end. No doubt he'll save a little bit anyway in case he needs to get a bit more, as that's Efting sideways.
Caution flag is out, and that changes everything. Hard contact involving the 85. And F-Tank goes around to the front straightaway. That also collected Brian Fiola's, in fact, was the one originally with the contact under yellow.
Yes, we'll have a look at this. This is Efting trying to go around the outside, and he just loses it by himself on the marbles, collects Fiolas. And almost another car there was involved. I can't quite see who that was, but very, very smart driving there to not get himself involved in it. But this is Efting here riding on board on the T-Cam. He's going to go around the outside, and there's going to be no contact whatsoever, but he's on the marbles out there. And just with just almost brand new tyres on that machine as well, I think, Justin. There was only 6 laps I'm recording on that stint, so it's not like he was on some, really, really rubbered in old Firestones that were sort of coming to the end of their life. They were almost a brand new set.
That caution puts only 3 cars in the lead lap 4 with the lucky dog. And this is huge. Sens, I think, just dodged it over the course of that situation. But Altena's in, Grench is in, Stellard were the only drivers not to pit. The 85 was pinned a lap down at the top of the caution period as well. And now, buckle up. This is where everyone can make it on the distance, except for Liam O'Sullivan maybe, but might have the caution laps to really save to have a chance. So, if you're a fan of Chevys, at least in terms of your scoring pylon, you're in luck. It's 1, 2, 3 for the Chevys now on the order.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to point out is, we have got a Chevy 1, 2, 3 followed by 2 Hondas. What happened to Altena around the halfway point in this race has literally happened to Liam O'Sullivan, and there's a phrase that I like to use. It's all swings and roundabouts. What comes around goes around. What you push out in the world comes back to you, and especially in the terms of this race and the jackpot that you seem to get with cautions, O'Sullivan has put himself in a very, very difficult situation. He's just about on the lead lap, but he's basically had to pay for that pit stop, whereas Altena has been able to keep the lead and pit under a caution.
And a lot of wave arounds going to be happening here. Inch, Gender, Charpentier, Engrave will also come down. Mariani, O'Sullivan, Zamani also in the wave around positions here. So we'll have, when we get going, 80 laps to decide this race. And Altena looks to be in the driver's seat with some different newcomers making their first starts of the season, ready to make a splash. Stellard in his first start of the series, and General Grinch, first start since last season for the 27 machine. We'll find out how they fare out as we will battle with 4 cars on the lead lap, make it 5 with O'Sullivan, 6 with Engrave. Math is fun.
Yeah, it's always gonna be more tricky in these short tracks when you've got all the pit stops and you've got cars going laps down. And anyway, we'll try our best for you, but I think at the moment this is now pretty straightforward. We've got 81 laps just in, and we're about to go green. It's gonna be a sprint.
Coming to 80, blocking down to the middle. Here comes the 27, all over the back bumper. Nothing to be done over the wing for now for Sexy Waltrip as he tries to set things up. Stellard tries to ride on behind as well. Middle line for Stellard, bottom line for Grinch, outside line for Altena, and he knew he spins it. Altena holds on to it. Here comes the 27 for the lead.
Oh my god, what lightning ninja hands from the boss himself, Altena. Amazing save there to keep it pointing in the right direction. But we will see if he can get the lead back from number 27. But he's going to have the inside line. That is not the preferred line coming off the corner. Gretsch is going to have the outside line. He's going to go up for the burn-up around turns 1 and 2. And I believe he's going to get it done. That mistake is proving to be extremely costly for Altena. He's going to try and send it back to the inside line. They're going to go side by side off of turn number 4. Gretsch is going to keep the lead off of Altena. But to be honest with you, if I was in Altena's position, Justin, I'm ahead of my championship rival. My car is still pointing the right direction around this racetrack here at Richmond. So I wouldn't be too displeased with losing 1 place off of the restart.
The interesting thing is we can definitely say alternative fuel maps again for that 27. He's using first rich fuel. Right now, Altena likely pushing hard too. Slides up for the race lead, takes it away. Crossover time. Here comes Grinch for the race lead, coming to 75. Make it 74. This upcoming time side by side again. Altena gets the run.
Whoa, as we saw Vinci in the background getting very sideways off of turn number 2. We do stay green, but that was an incredible save for the number 85. I caught out the back of my eye, but moving back to the lead of this race, it's still going to be the 27 versus the 11 for the lead of this one. Gresh is looking for his first win of the season, and Altena is probably looking for just an easy ride to the end of this race. He's got his thoughts on the bigger things in the championship trophy. He would love a win here tonight, but I don't know how far and how hard he's willing to fight the 27 for this win.
Yeah, I think Altena obviously wants to grow this points lead, or at least close up the points lead, is the way to phrase it, with O'Sullivan having the advantage. Chip away that gap down. But if you're the 27, you make your first start of the season. You want to win in the first start. There's a lot of motivation.
Oh, yeah. Totally. I mean, if I was in Grinch's position, even Stellard in my rookie season, he's got 2 extremely fiery, fired-up drivers behind him looking to take their first wins in either their rookie season or their first appearance. Now, imagine that. Imagine having that etched into the history books of the Velocity Online Racing Series. First race, first win. And to catch it all on a live stream as well will be the cherry on top for the number 27. He's going to be hot in the hunt, no doubt, for the rest of these 70 laps that we've got left to run here tonight.
I think my thought on that is first start of the season, first win of the said season when it comes to 27. Now, you can say that for Stellard, absolutely, in that ballpark for his sake. He's right now staying within 6/10 of these leaders. Grinch again inside. Nothing doing. Altena just continuing to remain on the high side. And remember, it's not like Grinch is trying to make a pass every single time here. This gives clean air on the nose because he knows Altena prefers the high line, and that allows him to at least save his tires in that way. Offset lines like you would see at Auto Club / California.
Yeah, it seems to be that there's definitely 2 lines that these guys are running. They're not unique lines to their driving style. It just simply is how the racetrack has developed over the course of this race. We saw at the start, everyone was sticking to that inside line. Everyone was not really running too far up the racetrack. Now there seems to be a definite 2-lane groove that is going on as we go yellow.
And we're under caution. And remember, we talked about Stellar doing very stellar here. The rookie in his first start just slammed the wall down, and looks like he's broken off the wing. Look at this.
Oh, he's had a bit of a heavy right foot off of turn 2, hasn't he? And just locked all four tires, and found his way to the inside wall. He did his best to avoid that, but unfortunately, it's not able to go in his favor. And this is a slide from Altena as well. This was off the restart that we had, which actually then gave the 27 the lead. We're coming off of turn 3 and onto turn 4, and look at that, 90 degrees of steering lock at over 100 miles an hour. That is a save and a half, isn't it, Justin?
And Jay also having to do the same thing in his situation. The City app machine. Looking to try and see if his app would work to say, can I hold it? Yes, just out onto it, barely moved the wheel.
That was a very, very good save, wasn't it? And I think this is going to be the onboard of Stellar. It's going to be, it's something that has definitely shown itself more than one time. And yeah, unfortunately, locking all 4 wheels, your steering wheel's not going to do an awful lot in terms of correcting the slide. But definitely off of the exit of these corners, on restarts, and as the tyres continue to wear down and the circuit continues to evolve, if you get any means of away from that rubbered-in groove, you are really facing yourself with a whole heap of oversteer.
Stellar down pit road and getting repairs done for a lengthy amount of time as a result of that one. This puts Vincenzo up at the top 3, O'Sullivan and Grinch top 5. Those 2 did come down for pit service. Kinder was the lucky dog this caution period. Took himself on the lead lap compared to Stellar, so we stay at 6 on the lead lap. Coming up to 63 laps to go. At this point, everyone should be good to go on gas. It's now about how well you're able to drive for this race lead, and the 77 now has his turn to try and go after the point.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very, very difficult task for Altena to hold off Engrav. He's been very fast all evening long. I believe he's led the most laps out of anyone here this evening, as we're not going to go green this time around. It's going to be another lap under caution with 64 to go. Meanwhile, this will all be playing into the hands of O'Sullivan. We mentioned that he pitted just before that 85 to go.
You know why I was saying hold on there? You mentioned that point with the 77. You know what just happened? His internet just said, bye-bye, technical issue, Hunter Engrav.
Oh, no. That's, yeah, he's not even on the racetrack. He's completely vanished off of everyone's screens, I believe. Hunter Engrav, unfortunately, internet coming in the way. That's the one thing that is not so realistic about iRacing, and it looks like he's going to be gone for good because he's not spawning back in, from what I can see, as we're about to go green.
Horrific luck, to say the least. Altena now has O'Sullivan as a challenger. Oh my goodness! O'Sullivan from a cannon launches his way to the race lead. Grinch trying to do so. Altena keeps the fight up side by side.
Oh my word, what a restart from the number 12. He's done that before in this season. He's very good at restarts, but my word, that was one of his finest. Well done, Mr. Liam O'Sullivan, almost getting the lead straight off of the restart. He's going to go into second place. He's going to get a courtesy position of that of Engrav not being in the server any longer. He's now 2 laps down, so unfortunately that is fate sealed for the number 77 machine. So it's going to be 3 effectively for the lead, as Altena actually took the lead back. And we see O'Sullivan has faded very, very quickly. He's going to be under attack from this 27 machine. Was that maybe a little bit of a mistake off the restart there? Such a good start, but fading so quickly again.
Grinch right now looking to try and get to work. Getting a little bit tight. Saying to be said, O'Sullivan was picking up some marbles there, popping up on the outside line. And right now, remember, O'Sullivan, fresh tires, going to take a couple laps to get into the window here in those Firestones, but we can tell you this. The fuel maps have picked up because everybody was running in 17.8s, 17.9s, 18.1s. Our speeds are up by 3/4 a lap right now, Jack. Those maps have gone up a little bit more on the fuel.
Yeah, everyone's feeling that sense of urgency. We're under 100 to go. We're under 75 to go, and we're approaching under 50 to go. And with 17-second laps, that is really not a lot of time left at all. We're nearly covering the entirety of our 225 miles here tonight. We're coming to closer and closer towards mile number 225 as we see the 27 again having a look to try and cause the Altena Autosport boys a little bit of hassle. We've got two championship contenders at the front, followed by, well, what seemed to be a car that's almost, it's the way it's coming across with that title sponsorship of the number 27. I don't want to send any offenses out there and say that he's not taking this seriously, because he most certainly is, and he's doing a fantastic job. But with that title sponsorship, with the Sexy Wall Trip sponsorship scheme that he's got on that car, it almost seems like he's just doing it for a little bit of fun and almost winding up the two championship protagonists here.
I don't think the sponsorship does that, but let's take a look at the replay here. Sullivan, mind you, started originally was going to be the fourth car. He really took advantage because they gave space for Engrave, and I thought he was going to clear fully by this point. Altena just got a better runoff exit. He's challenging for the race lead right now, though. O'Sullivan did look to the inside, Jack. Yet again, forced to peek to the inner side. Looking to try and make the move for the yellow line. Hope that Altena slides up.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things again where it's in the car behind really try and just do the slide job and try and get the car in front. But we've seen time and time again that just doesn't work. So O'Sullivan sat there in second, needs to find a way to utilize the outside line, force the number 11 in that of Julien Altena into a mistake, his championship rival for that matter into a mistake, to try and then eke his way past. Or he's going to have to pray that we stay green until we get to some lap traffic, Justin, because from the history of how far this race has gone for that number 12 car, the history of what he's been able to do when sat behind someone of similar pace has not been a very high success rate. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does and how he uses the traffic to potentially size up a move for the race lead.
It's going to be a little while, though, based on the pace still running. 17.6s. Some of the drivers at the back of the field are still running 7s and 9s, so it's only a few tenths a lap difference between the front of the field and those still running at the back of it. Including Clegg, who is 33 laps down at this point, has a chance to move up to 11th after originally looking to be in a rougher spot early on in this one. O'Sullivan taking the middle line to follow behind Altena. Altena a little bit squirrely that time front straightaway, just held on to the tires.
That could have been the mistake that O'Sullivan needed to really capitalize, but it looks like he's gathered himself up very, very well there, Altena, being able to, as we see a big lunge to the inside from the number 12. He's not going to get the overlap, but he's making his signals known. He's making his intent known of, hello, mate, I want to get past. He does have the tire advantage. 37 laps for Altena, 19 laps for O'Sullivan, but it really seems like he's struggling to put that tire advantage to good use. Altena utilizing that preferred middle lane now. I think everyone has sort of defaulted to using that middle lane, sort of accepting the fact that the inside is just not the way to go, but it's exactly where he needs to be, Justin. He needs to be putting his car in awkward places. He needs to be putting his car in the places where O'Sullivan won't be able to get past, and he's doing that absolutely perfectly at the moment.
Using the right line to be able to take away any chances for O'Sullivan to realistically go for this lead. Speeds have dropped back down to what they were originally during the long runs here, as some of these drivers do have to manage the field a little bit still. Altena in particular is 40 laps of the run. Everybody else for sure good from here. Grinch also still following along, and the other lines still working their way through. Now, once they reach Charpentier, to be all bets off, though, on the traffic management here. I'm surprised that all the drivers are just, at this point, just conceding that top line's the better line. They're just eating the dirty air like it is a breakfast meal.
Yeah, I think there's not really too much in terms of banking here. You can see there, just looking from the trackside cameras, it's nothing like a Texas, you know, where you have super wide banking in turn 1 and 2, where you can sort of really make a crazy higher line work and then get a cutback. Whereas here it's a lot more confined. You see the racetrack really tightens up on the exit of turns 2 and 4, and what that really does is sort of confine drivers to really use 1 or 2 lanes, and that's sort of how the racing has tended to go tonight. But it seems to be that O'Sullivan is still struggling to really make that outside line work, and as you say, just choosing to eat the dirty air instead of trying to find a new way past, because it looks like there, see, look, going to the inside line, he may have gained on the way into the corner, but the gap once they come to the start-finish line is exactly the same. This is another very big, ambitious lunge from O'Sullivan, trying to get closer and closer to the gearbox of the number 11, and he's going to go again to the inside, but it looks like just the inside in 3 and 4 just doesn't work as good as it does in 1 and 2. I think if it's going to be a move where, you know, the inside is going to be the line of choice for O'Sullivan, it's going to have to be 1 and 2, Justin. We see still watching on board from the T-Cam of O'Sullivan. He's going to be continuing to challenge for the lead, but bear in mind we still have the 27 of Gresh not too far behind, biding his time, watching out for potential fireworks to unfold, because this could be the perfect opportunity for him to come through from 3rd all the way to the lead of the race if things go his way. And we see another overlap for O'Sullivan on Altena, and we have now the lapped traffic is coming into play. This could be O'Sullivan's time to make the move and make it stick with 35 laps to go. This could be a pivotal race moment. They make their way past the lap traffic absolutely fine, so unfortunately O'Sullivan is going to have to wait for another opportunity.
Pente looked like he went up in the marbles, and that outside line had a ton of them with how much was sticking to the tires there. Speaking of sticking, here comes O'Sullivan. Is he gonna stick this one inside? No. Coming to 32 laps to go. Altena now squeezes a bit down. O'Sullivan resets behind. Grinch still watching the popcorn seat as O'Sullivan goes for the slide again.
He's going to send it to the inside line. He's got the overlap, but look at the exit that the 11 always gets out of the corner. It's just, you just cannot match it, or at least O'Sullivan can't match it for the moment. But the 27 needs to sort of think about making a move. He can sit in the popcorn seat as here he goes. The 27 now makes the move to the inside. He's going to throw a new tennis ball into the mix. The green numbers 27, piloted by Gresh, makes his intentions now known with 31 laps to go. And the temperature continues to rise here at Richmond as we get to the business end of this race.
Send up the inside. O'Sullivan licks the stamp. Can he send it to the mailbox? No. Ends up resetting back alongside Altena, still forced to leave space. Pit stop for Mariani, by the way. He was only 35 laps into a run. Mariani having issues. Grinch, he's looking to steal away second instead. Has a chance at that. Problem is, O'Sullivan again gets the boost as the Altena Autosport machine still trying to hold on 1-2 and will.
You can see the 27 is really sort of doing what O'Sullivan needs to be doing. You can see a big lunge to the inside of 1 and 2 from O'Sullivan, almost in an attempt to sort of shut off Gresh behind, saying you cannot get that overlap and you can't stay there. And unfortunately for the 27, if you're in his camp today, the opportunity of second place is shut down once more. 27 laps to go. We're ticking down laps almost faster than we can speak as we've got more traffic on the horizon. O'Sullivan wants to the inside line, but we've only got 2 more laps, Justin, of blue flags before before blue flags come into effect, I should say.
And at that point, not going to be a factor. They're coming up to it this time by inch. Really slow on the bottom. Will yield his way now. Move out of the way. We're inside the blue flag rule. At this point forward, lap traffic must yield to the race leaders. And right now, Altena still getting better launches. O'Sullivan continuing to try and carve his way around. Nothing doing with 24 laps to go.
Yeah, it's going to be now a a task of simply trying to make the move stick on your own without using the lap traffic, because obviously they're going to get out the way. His only hope now is for a bit of miscommunication, as this is, I think, the longest he has had an overlap in a good few number of laps. But unfortunately, once again, the number 11 is just too strong on the exit of corners. I really think he's running out of things to do here, Justin. I don't know how he's going to make this work, as the 27 now says it's his time to go.
Inside, Grench tries to build up. Grench resets. Grench goes back in line. Goes up to the outside. O'Sullivan now goes inside. Still peeking to the inside. O'Sullivan nearly snapped it around that time out of 2. He's right now on the razor's edge with the balance off the corners with 21 more laps to go. Look at those runs that right now Altena continues to play defense on. At this point, is there anything you could do if you're O'Sullivan other than lick the stamp, send it, and try and go for a massive, massive slide job without making contact, which is now impossible, it seems, with the way this track has been rolling on center exit?
Yeah, I think if I'm Liam O'Sullivan at this point in time, I need to, next time I get close to Julien, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using all of the tools available to me. That's ARBs, that's weight jackers, that's fuel maps. Regardless, I'm going to be throwing all of it and the kitchen sink at this next opportunity with 19 to go, because I think if you can make the move now and make it stick, especially on a car that's got older tyres in front of you, it's going to be a very, very difficult challenge for Altena to retake the position off of O'Sullivan. But it just looks like he's not got enough legs and enough juice in the tank in the case of the number 12 to really get that edge and get that last bit of pace to make the move stick, Justin.
Yeah, that's been a challenge all day, it feels like, when it comes to that circumstance. O'Sullivan running out of time to get this done. Bit of traffic ahead, but O'Sullivan peeks inside again. Looks to the side pod again. Nothing doing as he sets back in the line. Grench is starting to fade back a little bit on a reset. Lots of cloud cover, by the way, over top the racetrack at the moment. Going to impact some of the temperatures here as we move into the late stages here from Richmond Raceway, the action track. Temperature still in the early 90s Fahrenheit-wise in the last few moments here. O'Sullivan looking to raise the temperature of the battle again. No. Here comes the traffic now up the road.
This is going to be really interesting to see. I mean, the traffic, don't forget, it has to get out of the way, but it's how they get out of the way that's going to be the defining factor, as Gresh makes a big lunge and a big overlap, but he's going to get pinned to the inside, and the gap and the overlap completely relinquishes itself once they get to the exit of turn number 2. But it's going to be, O'Sullivan's going to have to hope for a really clumsy encounter with a back marker, because they have to get out the way now. He just has to hope that someone gets it a bit wrong and just gets in Altena's way and forces him to lift, even just for a nanosecond, because that might be all it takes for him to gain the momentum and get this move sealed and dealed.
12 laps to get it done right now. Both of them, in fact, all three of them, up the high side, nearly the outside coming into play that time for Grench. He thought about a pass up high. Instead, he goes down low, clears for a second, but not enough to clear on by fully. Needs to really lunge into the corner and clear by if he wants a chance for the race lead himself. Won't get the chance to. Got loose out of 2.
O'Sullivan really needs to take a leaf out of Gresh's book, because he's managed to make this work an incredible amount. I mean, they're on the same lap of tyre, so the tyre life is on paper the same, but he may have used a little bit more, a little bit less. Obviously, O'Sullivan has done a lot more side-by-side battling compared to that 27 machine, but he's really, really making it work for him at the moment. Almost taking second place away, but with 10 to go now, and Julien looking at the best part of 4/10 up the road. That gap yo-yos, obviously, depending on which line O'Sullivan takes, but I think now with the gaps moving slightly towards the wider end of the spectrum, this could be curtains.
Kieran Mariani got DQ'd just now with a wall hit. He had previously spun moments ago on the apron, can confirm. With less than 10 laps to go now in this fight, these leaders are working their way again to 7 laps to go. Inside poke O'Sullivan. Grench has fallen off for the worst time, is losing lots of ground with the dirty air and is trying different lines. So Sullivan looking for one more setup, maybe two, if he wants to try and go for it. There's the side-by-side. Yet again, Altena defends.
He's just not got the rear end grip, Justin. He just can't make it work. I think what he needs to do is see what Greg did behind and just go extreme outside wall, almost complete wall ride it, a little bit like Ross Chastain style. Obviously not completely cheese grating the side of his IndyCar against the outside wall, but I think running a sort of wall of death is the only option he's sort of got left at the moment.
Coming up to 4 laps to go. They're lunge inside. He is still committed to doing it the clean way, but to the inside. Altena continues to leave maybe a small lane, but nothing done for any moves up top. O'Sullivan shuffles back in, coming to 3 laps to go from Richmond.
It's going to be a very, very close finish, this one. No matter what, we're going to have a fight all the way to the finish, but it depends if it's going to be Altena. It depends if it's going to be O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan has got a very good overlap this time, Justin. It's the best one he's had so far. Can he make it work on the inside coming off of turn 4, coming to 2 to go? They're still side by side, Justin. It's going to be the best opportunity that I think O'Sullivan has had all race long. They're still going side by side. This is going to be incredible as they come to the white flag.
Couple more sets of corners after this. Coming to the white flag this time by Julien Altena has 159 laps tonight. He looks to hold on for 2 more sets of corners. O'Sullivan to the inside. Altena holds the outside. Altena gets tight. Lap car slow on the bottom. Inch will try and move out of the way. O'Sullivan will try and go for the race win. Side by side, Altena's got the boost. It's Altena at Richmond.
What a finish that was. I thought that we were going to have a sort of maintained sort of parade of a finish towards the end there, but that last effort from O'Sullivan really, really brought it home. That was such a close finish, but Julien there, a flawless drive from our championship protagonist. He'll be over the moon with that coming into tonight, obviously on 237 points compared to O'Sullivan on 287. That gap will be looking a lot smaller by the time they go to our next race.
And both of them get to celebrate 161 laps led today for Altena. I think the whole podium just happy to be in this spot here at Richmond today, as it looks like they'll let Altena do his celebratory burnouts. Greg led 24, you've seen O'Sullivan just 7, but it's Altena who's able to come away with win number 2, and he does it on an oval.
Yeah, that was almost race perfect from Altena. I think, especially to come back from that safety car and caution disaster that really sort of ended not only his day, it looked like at the time, but also that of Roden Eftink, who unfortunately finished 87 laps down today in 13th place. But how he's managed to recover from that and then end up winning the race as well, that is a truly incredible drive.
I think he's doing the Polish victory lap at the moment here at Richmond Raceway, as what a race to say the very least. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results as Julien Altena gets the win over Liam O'Sullivan. That difference at the line ended up being 0.106 seconds, just over a 10. Wrench on the podium on his season debut. Kinder and Vincenz amongst those in the top 5. Sensei, I should say, in the top 5. Violas in 6th. Zamboni in 7th. Inch in 8th. Charpentier in 9th, and Mariani rounds out your top 10, Jack.
Yeah, looking over to just missing out on the top 10, and this is going to be where our retirements really start to step in for tonight. Unfortunately for John Stellard, he comes home in 11th ahead of Fraser Clegg and Hunter Engrav in the 3 Hondas, sorry, not Hyundais, wrong motorsport. Roden Eftink then in 14th in his Chevy, followed by Toby Deek, Michael Deitch, Aman Lau, Anthony Heitzmer, Kyle Clemworth, and John Christensen all out very early on in tonight's race.
We also have Matthias Strauss also out of the race as a result here today. 21 cars started Richmond. In the end, we finish with only 7 within 1 lap down and 5 on the lead lap today. We'll talk about some of the unofficial race results here today, waiting for the rest of the top three to pop on in. And amongst their discussions here, so we have 3, 2, 1 here for today. Looks like for that order, Grinch is amongst those coming on down. We'll see if we can get him down to the booth the next moment because he'll be amongst the drivers we look to talk with. He was the only driver who was in the Discord the entire night in terms of the broadcast center, elected to sit and wait for his opportunity to speak with us here on his start. See him in the next moment in the Silent Z Racing. Here he is. Kyle Grinch joins us in the broadcast booth. Kyle, how do you feel about this run? Top 3 in your first start of the season.
Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't driven an IndyCar on an oval, I think, since probably since the VOR 500. I don't get to do much of these, so especially I'm literally 15 minutes from this track in real life, and I'm just overjoyed. That's awesome.
What drew you to come back out to the series tonight after you made 4 previous starts in the series?
Dude, I would show up every week if I didn't work during these races. I always work. This time frame doesn't work out for me. I just happen to be off because of a medical leave, and I'm just I'm just having a great time. My hands hurt. This track's awesome. They should be running here instead of DC. This is awesome.
Well, I'm glad you're here at the very least, and hopefully you're okay in terms of the medical side of things. But let me ask you how difficult it was with the short track package. They did receive updates this week on iRacing to the 2026 specs in the first place.
Yeah, I think Julien and Liam will probably have a much better perspective on that one. But I mean, it's what I was expecting. Dirty Air was pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. But I mean, turn 2 was impossible with traffic, and then 3 and 4, it really felt like you had to be oversped to the car in front of you and kind of give them a slide job to even really make a pass if you guys were not on a tire difference.
So on that note, anyone you want to give a shout out to after this one?
Yeah, I stream all my races, so if you want to ever check those out, I've got my YouTube channel, Sexy Wall Trip, and then if you show up to VOR, run some IndyCar races, don't be scared. These cars are fun.
Definitely looked fun. And by the way, I was checking out that stream perspective here today. I think I was your viewer for much of the race.
Oh, hell yeah.
At least that is a positive on top of the podium. Congratulations, Kyle, on the run.
Thank you, and thanks for broadcasting.
Kyle Grinch coming away with today. Grinch in the top 3, but second spot today went to your points leader, Liam O'Sullivan. Fought hard. He is with Jack.
Yeah, so I mean, an incredible race today, Liam. It was very, very close with you and Julien the whole way through, but it just looked like you didn't have the edge to really get past the other guys around you that were sort of on a similar running pace.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy with second place with all the stuff that happened to me that race. I'm happy to run out of here with a second place and leave as quickly as possible and head to St. Pete because there was that weird incident around lap 104. I think the caution came out, and I don't know whether it was where the pace car came out or whatever, but it was telling me to wait for the pace car, but guys had already pitted. And so I had to make a decision. I pitted, then it dropped me to the back of like all the lead lap cars when I should have been in the lead. People didn't get wave arounds. I think Julien should have been back on the lead lap at that point, and it didn't happen. So I then was in a position where everyone could go full push at the end there if that last yellow didn't come, and I would have had to fuel save and on the older tyres. So I was honestly looking at 4th, 5th place, being happy with that based off what had happened. But second, I mean, I just could not get underneath Julien enough there to push him up the racetrack enough to kind of at least get a bit more momentum onto the straight, deploy the whole hybrid, and then maybe I can slide job him into the corner. But no, I mean, we've limited the points loss. I mean, I think he gains 12 on me or something, because he'll get most laps led as well. So I think it's going to be a 38-point lead I'm dealing with heading into St. Pete and the final round. So plan is final round. I should be here now, which is the good news. So at least we can fight to the end. But no, it was a messy race for me. but very happy with the result nonetheless.
Yeah, no, we definitely picked up on the fact that you had to come in for your mandatory pit stop, obviously, to make it to the end of the race, and then unfortunately the caution came out almost in the worst possible time for you. But to be able to recover and still get that second place is, as you said, damage limitation. And I was going to ask what your plans were and how you look ahead to that of Portland and the final race of the season. Do you think it's going to be a circuit that suits your driving style well? Do you think there's going to be high competition there? What are your thoughts as we go to St. Pete next?
My thoughts heading to St. Pete is it's new for everyone. I haven't driven it yet, and secondly, I'm in the best position on drop rounds where I just need to ideally get first or second in one of the. Obviously, we have the reverse grids. I've saved a nice drop round based off previous scores, so hopefully we can just have one clean race at St. Pete, and then whatever happens in the alternate one doesn't matter because I've got the points to cover it, which has been so good for me to have that in the bank. And then obviously Vegas I can't drop, but no, we're in a really strong position. It was just getting through today was probably the scariest one that could have really opened the door for Julien. But I know it's not a comfortable lead, but it's a big enough lead to manage. So we'll hopefully see you out in St. Pete and get the job done straight away and not have to deal with messing around with a reverse grid race 2 at St. Pete where anything can happen. But happy to survive this bull ring today of actually raced better than I thought it would.
Would you like to thank any teams, family, sponsors before we let you go tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank iRacing first of all for just I genuinely have no clue as to why I wasn't allowed to pit and then dropped from first to sixth by not being allowed to pit considering where the pace car was. So that was a good one. But other than that, mum, dad, grandparents watching as always. The team, I mean, again, it's another 1-2. And we've locked up the top 2 in the championship already. So it's again mega consistency across all series. And yeah, the broadcast as always, you guys. I mean, like I said, I'm saying it's been a noticeable step up as a recent, and it's really making a difference. So thank you for that.
No problem. It's a pleasure as always to cover this fantastic action on the Velocity Online Racing channel. Justin, that was Liam O'Sullivan, second place man today at Richmond.
Well, Sullivan coming away second, still gets some very good points, but Julien Altena chips away some here today. Julien, you get yourself a win on an oval today. How are you feeling with your second win of the season?
Oh man, I'm over the moon with this one. That was a long, sweaty race, especially for my right shoulder. But yeah, just phenomenal result by the team, and really happy for the win. Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to us about your perspective, trying to hold back O'Sullivan, using the outside line. What was going through your mind as you were trying to play defense?
Well, I kind of knew running by myself in clean air in the lead early on in the race, I really didn't like the high line. There were people that did like it. So kind of during the race, I had to kind of move up there because I knew that people were getting runs and defending positions from there up on the top. So wasn't really my preferred lane choice for defending or just driving on that period. So it was a bit of an adjustment in the middle of the race to make, but I think in the end it was good enough to be able to contend for the lead. And yeah, the battle with Liam was great. I was trying to pinch him off of turn 2 because that's where I knew that he was going to get the run, if anything, that he could make a dive bomb pass in turn 1. So I needed to kind of pinch him off there in turn 2 to stay ahead. And yeah, just running close, but between teammates, you kind of have to do that sometimes as well. And we're going for the championship too together. I know Liam cares a little bit more about it than I do, but it's not like I'm going to give him a handout or anything. So I'm going to make him work for it if he wants it that bad. So yeah, I just really had a lot of fun today. I think Richmond really delivered for a change. I think I heard you talk to Carl about the short track package earlier as well, by the way. For Richmond, I don't think much changed because they don't race here in real life. I think these changes are more for Phoenix, Nashville, those kind of tracks, more than Richmond, and other tracks like even Iowa this year they don't run on anymore. So I think those are the tracks that aren't going to be affected, and those are the ones that will be. So yeah, the race overall was good though. The setup seemed to work really well throughout the field, and even when I was in the mid pack, people were able to make moves. So a lot of fun.
With that being said here, Julien, now this allows you with today, unofficially, the points gap does go down to under 40 to about 38 unofficially. What's the approach now to try and continue to chip away, to have a shot by the time you get to Las Vegas? Because now it's St. Pete next with a brand new track on the service.
Yeah, I hope somebody puts the chrome horn on him in the first turn on the first lap, like Robert Wickens got in 2018. That would be nice if Liam gets it, so it can make me close more points up in the championship. But no, I'm just gonna aim for smooth races here, execute, and hope for the best. That's all you can really do. I think I've won the second race of Road America, so if that's anything to go by, maybe the format will work in my favor again. We'll have to wait and see. But like you say, new track, it's a lot of unknowns. People are going to need to practice for that, including myself, to really figure out the best lines and certain spots to deploy hybrid, for example, defend, that kind of stuff. It's going to be new for everybody, so it's going to be really interesting who learns the fastest. And I think against Liam, we're going to be more or less equal like we've been throughout the season. So yeah, I think it just comes down to execution, but we'll see.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
Yes, my girlfriend. Unfortunately, she's back home again. But I mean, I guess it's kind of a blessing in disguise because I was able to focus on the race today without too many distractions. So I guess it all works out. But yeah, you guys for broadcasting as always. I mean, I say this every time. I know I'm kind of paying you, but still, thanks anyway for showing up. All the drivers, despite the yellows, which really should have been a lot less, but still they put up a great show. Especially the battle for the lead with Hunter, Liam, and Kyle up there at the front, especially. The racing was great. So thanks to those guys. Dan Enge with Alzheimer's Association as well. Check it out. We also unfortunately lost a community member, Richard Kelbaugh, apparently in February already. We only found out last week. I raced against him a couple years ago. Not much recently, but still, of course, really sad news. And thoughts and prayers are with their family, and hopefully they can, just get on top of the loss for themselves. It's really tragic, but yeah, that's about it. Of course, the team as well. I almost forgot. Thanks to those guys for coming up to the race and working together as well as we did. Shame about the early access for John, Roden, and Aman, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. So. Yeah, I think I got just about everybody. So that's it.
Congratulations on the victory here today, Julien. By the way, this win unofficially, believe, would put you, just one spot shy now in terms of victory count to Alexander Van de Sant for second all time in series. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a very, very nice thing, of course. I mean, I do have to admit he hasn't raced here for a couple seasons. I think if he still did, he would probably have double the wins he does now. I mean, if he's watching, feel free to return. You know, we would love to have you back as well as a couple other people from their team and other teams out there. But yeah, it's nice to at least have the stat that matches him. But in my mind, I know I'll probably have a long way to go before I can even match his speed on any track. So it's kind of taking it with a pinch of salt, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Julien Altena coming away with the win here today. I'd like to thank the entire top three for speaking on us during post-race coverage here on Velocity Online Racing here for VOR IndyCar Series competition. So on that note here, Jack, just about wraps things up here for the action track. Your final thoughts on what Richmond had in store. And as these drivers get ready for an action-packed April, the pressure is on for the final couple rounds of the season.
Yeah, I think that the race tonight at Richmond, it definitely highlighted how difficult it can be to really get the moves done if someone's very close to you in terms of lap time pace. I mean, we saw that in the fight for the lead, although, you know, it doesn't mean that it makes for a boring race. You know, we had a lot of action at the start. We had a lot of cautions. We had a lot of things the drivers needed to manage, including the exits of turns 2 and 4. They threw up a bunch of different hazards throughout tonight's race. and as well as the fact of these new updates that iRacing have brought to the IndyCar. I know that Julien, our race winner, said that it probably didn't make too much of a difference, but I'm without a doubt, I'm sure that it improved the racing a little bit more compared to what we've seen at other short tracks, at least in my experience, Justin. But casting thoughts ahead to the next couple of races, I believe, as far as I know, I'm not actually in the box for the remainder of the season, so I'll be having to watch along from the sideline for St. Pete and Las Vegas. But I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, St. Pete being a new road course for these drivers, road courses as well, you know, throw up all different types of challenges compared to an oval, and then Las Vegas as well, another classic to round out the season.
Keep in mind, our broadcast schedule coming up. You have IICL coming up with the 29th Indy 250. That will be coming up on the 15th, a part of our broadcast slate here on 4. St. Petersburg, as mentioned, will also have some NXT races before that mark, with Barber also on the schedule, a part of those races. And of course, VOR has St. Petersburg and Las Vegas. Those will be on the 4th and 11th, respectively, in the month of April, as we roll through to decide who wins some championships here, a part of our coverage. But on that note, it's just about time to say goodbye from Richmond Raceway. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for tonight's coverage here of Velocity Online Racing. For producer Howie Burrows, for my co-announcer Jack James, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Once again, that finishes up the action from Richmond. Congratulations to Julien Altena, your winner from the action track.